live!
Yay!
Hi, everybody.
Hi. Hi, everyone. I hope everybody is having a fantastic new year. This is ACDC, Araceli and Colette, a dynamic change. And we're back for 2021. Guess what? We're here. So my name is Araceli. I'm a transition wealth advisor, and I love helping single professional women rearrange their finances so they can get more out of what they have. And I'm here with my partner, Colette. Colette, can you introduce yourself?
Hi, everybody. My name is Colette Raba, and I'm a residential real estate broker in the GTA. I work anywhere, Etobicoke, all the way west to even Hamilton. I love my buyers. I love my sellers, but only residential. And I'm so happy that 2021 is here. Can I just say that? Happy New Year, everybody. This is a new start for a lot of people. And, you know, just continuing on with what we're trying to do, which is help everybody who's watching that whatever questions you have for real estate or finances, we're here for you.
Yeah, absolutely. So today's subject, well, it's the beginning of the year, so a lot of us have goals. And one of them may be buying a home.
Home ownership.
Maybe this is your very first home, or maybe this is your second home. So you're going to start building a little bit of wealth. So Colette, do you want to get started?
Yeah, so we came up with 5 things that I work with a lot of first-time buyers too, but this is not necessarily a first-time buyer thing because it affects everybody who is thinking about buying a house. Yeah. So I've actually had some great calls over the holidays from people who are interested in buying a second home, and you know, they've outgrown their families, and they have kids that they really want to have a space that they can grow into a little bit. So they're looking to upgrade a little bit. So it goes for them too. It's the same rules for everybody. And I think what happens is when you're not in the business or you're not thinking about it all the time, you forget what you need to do before you even think about moving. So I have people calling me and saying, hey, I want to go look at houses. I go, okay, great. What do you qualify for? And they say, I don't know. So that's the first thing. That's the first thing that we have to do is talk to a mortgage agent or talk to your lender to say, what do I qualify for? I have this kind of good job, or I have, you know, multiple income coming from this source and this source. And I need to know how much you qualify for, because it's really not fair. You go into a store and say, you know, how much is that mug? And I have, you know, $10 in my pocket, but I know the mug is like 30. You know, you can't buy it. So why are we even going and looking at houses that you can't afford? So that's the one thing. It's heartbreaking when you think, okay, I have, you know, $800,000, but you're looking at houses that are listed for $800,000. But if you don't know the market, you know, these houses are selling for $900. So I'm going to get back to that. So that's one of the things too that you have to be aware of.
Okay, so the number 1 is?
Finances.
Okay.
So that's where you come in. So
that's right.
If you don't qualify for what you think you should qualify for, this is something that you have to take a step back, talk to Araceli to say, what am I doing wrong? Why am I not qualifying for, you know, I make good money. How do I boost my credit score? How do I save for down payment? All these things you have to talk to your financial advisor before you even think about, you know, making a move.
That's correct. So one of the things that I see and I hear from a lot of people is that they want to buy a home and they have the down payment, but they haven't thought about the other side of it. So the first thing that I always tell people is that, why do you want to buy? You know, what is the purpose of it? Is that because your home, the current home that you have is not good enough? Maybe you're renting and you said, okay, I'd like to own something. Maybe your family is growing and you need more space. All of those are really big factors that you need to know, because if you're moving from a small place to a larger one because, you know, maybe you're expecting a baby, or maybe you're gonna grow your family, you already have a couple kids, and then you're waiting for another one. So
Right.
all of those things really, really affect the fact that the space, obviously the more space is gonna cost you a little bit more, but you need to look at what is your current sources of income?
Right.
How solid are they? Do you have a permanent position? Is your partner also working if you do have a partner? Or you do have some sources of already maybe government benefits coming to you. Maybe you have an inheritance that is coming to you every so often, maybe on a monthly basis or on a yearly basis. All of that has to be factored in. So yeah, it is very, very important to look at where you are situated financially before you go ahead and get approved and all of that.
Right. And the other thing too that people don't realize is you have, you know, if you are a renter, let's just say you're renting and this is your first purchase, from a renter's perspective, you might not be paying utilities for one thing.
Mm-hmm.
You probably are not paying taxes. So all these things you have to factor in before you purchase. So the funny thing too is that even though you go to the bank and say, okay, you know, here, the bank is willing to give you X number of dollars,
Mm-hmm.
but what you find is you can find comfortably affordable. So comfortable means that you are comfortable paying a certain amount of money a month. So this is a big factor because even though you qualify for $800,000, to know what your monthly payments will be on top of your taxes and your utilities and all your other expenses that you have, this is so imperative for you to know that, because I do not want anybody to be uncomfortable to the point where they're house poor. You hear that term a lot. That means they can afford the house, but then they can't afford a lifestyle that they actually want to live, which means traveling. I mean, nobody's traveling right now, but you know what I'm saying? So these little perks that you have, your coffee in the morning, if you want to go a gym membership, or you have all these little expenses, that these are things that make your life really good and happy, and you don't want to give those up. So that's why I suggest talking to Araceli, or, you know, just to figure out, not just a mortgage broker, but to talk to someone like Araceli first before you even, you know, this is maybe a few months before you even think about buying, because you have to be comfortable with your finances. So that's number one. Number two, the second thing is when you calculate your home down payment, you also have to consider closing costs. So down payment, like the goal is if you can get 20% together for a down payment. That's huge. When you think about how much money that is to save, it's a lot of money. So there are calculations to how to calculate, you know, you can say as low as 5%, or if you actually buy from a builder, they have a little bit of a different kind of payment plan for down payment. So these are some things that you have to think about and realize, like, it's a lot of money just to have that in your pocket. And then what do you do with this money while you're waiting? Again, talk to Araceli. She'll tell you where to put it in the interim to make sure that it's somewhat liquid, so when you need it, you can get to it. That's one thing. That's number two.
Okay, so in number two, Colette, I'd like to add also that is, yeah, the closing cost is very important, but also moving expenses. Moving expenses could become quite big, and it's not only renting a truck or maybe hiring the services to do the move, but then there is a lot of things that when you go into the house, maybe you don't have any drapes at all.
Right.
And those things can become pretty expensive, right? So is there anything else that you don't have, or maybe that doesn't fit your current
or renovations
home?
Right.
Maybe
Things
renovations
happen.
that you want to do. So
Right.
it depends of what you want to do with your new space, that you factor in a little bit of money extra to accommodate to that, to get permanent fixtures. There's lots and lots of, maybe the floor you want to change it.
Absolutely.
So all of these things, they need to be factored in, because when you go in and then you say, well, I can't live with this. So now it's an extra $2,000-$3,000 that you need to spend.
What happens? This is a question I get from buyers all the time. What happens when I buy the house and we move in, and the next day the furnace dies.
Exactly.
Or the fridge, or some other appliance, or the roof starts leaking. Who's responsible? Guess what? You've taken title.
Yeah.
It's your responsibility.
Exactly.
So you have to have that contingency for sure. Always have a little bit of money in the, saved somewhere for incidentals like that. That's what homeownership is. I can't tell you how many times, like even the last year, how many things that have broken down. My house is only 10 years old. This is not for houses that are, you think, oh my God, they're 50-year-old houses.
Oh gosh, yeah.
You never know. You never know when things are going to happen. So I'll always have a little bit of savings in your back pocket for things like that. So, knock on wood, hopefully nothing happens, but you never know.
Yeah.
Okay, so that's number 2. Number 3, this is usually the number 1 for a lot of people, where they go to Realtor.ca and they check out listings. Because
okay, yeah.
in their head, oh, I can afford $1 million. So they, go crazy and they go to Realtor.ca and they look at things that they think that they can afford, and they think that it's just beautiful and glorious, and this is the actual. So the problem with a place like Realtor.ca is you don't see the sold price. So when you see the list price, it pretty much these days, I hate to break it to you, means nothing. I can't tell you how many buyers I'm working with where we look at houses that are a certain number, like at the top of their budget, and it sells for $100,000 more.
Yeah. It's very heartbreaking.
It's heartbreaking, right? It's awful. So this is number 4, is when you hire a great agent. So that's my tip number 4, because when you hire a great realtor, they can help you understand that even if you have a budget of, let's say, $800,000, you should really be looking at the $700,000 range, because you're probably going to have to pay $800 for it, or around that price. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate it. I hate being the bearer of bad news. I don't like to go into bidding wars. I'm very clear when I hire, when clients hire me to buy, I'm very clear at a formula. When we go into multiple offer situation, I do have a formula. It's something that's very proprietary. I don't share it with anybody, especially on a format like this. I'm sorry. If you do want that, then people have to work with me if they're serious. The other thing too, when you go to Realtor.ca, it's about realistic expectations. So this is something that I hear too quite often is, I want to go see this house. And I say to my buyers, okay, that's fine. But do you realize when you look at that listing and you see the bedroom size, that master bedroom is 9 feet by 9 feet.
That's a small.
Do you understand? Yeah, that you can fit maybe like a queen size bed and that's it in there. And then like walk around, you might have like a foot in between. So these are the things that if you have expectations, please be realistic about when you see these listings. Look at, we all know that real estate agents that are listing houses make the house look so good online. They stage it. They put all the bells and whistles. They put filters. They do those, they use the cameras that have those, they back up and they have a wide lens. So the room looks really, really big. The rooms look great. So things like that, you have to kind of, and this is something that I coach my clients to. When we go through this and we look at pictures, I go, okay, look, pictures are great. You're not buying the staged furniture. You're buying the bones of the house.
Yeah.
Let's go look at it once you are okay with the room sizes. So one of the first things I do with my clients is we go through your benchmark listing. This is the house that has the benchmark kitchen size. This house has the benchmark bedroom size. This house has the benchmark lot size. I have clients that say, we want to put a pool in the backyard. And I go, okay, well, we're not even going to go see that house because I know the backyard's a stamp, size of a stamp. You can't put a pool in there. It's unrealistic unless you want a baby pool. I don't think that's what they're going for. But this is
so you swim on the spot.
You know what I hate? Again, I hate being the bearer of bad news. And I wish I had a crystal ball that I could make everything perfect and great and have a perfect house in the perfect location. And a lot of the times, and this is why I have a background in renovation and you do as well,
Mm-hmm.
that when we go look at these houses, we see the potential of these, like every house. I felt like I get goosebumps because I'm like, oh my gosh, I could absolutely see the potential of this house. So ultimately, the first thing is always location, location, location. So that's number 5. Number 5 is location. I know it could probably be number 1, but this is something that if you insist on being in a certain area, and this is the funny thing with COVID, people are working from home. People, I mean, talk to any realtor that's outside of the GTA. They're making a kill. Well, not everybody, but a lot of the good agents are really making a lot of money because people are realizing they can work remotely and they do not need to live in the city. They do not need to live in the suburbs. They can live out in Ajax or, you know, Hamilton or even past Burlington or past Milton. There's tons of people going to, I mean, if there are houses there as well, so it's supply and demand. And right now, unfortunately, there's more demand than supply because really it's COVID and not a lot of people are thinking about moving right now. They want to hold fast, right? So please, expectations, please.
Yeah, I know. Believe me, like I've been buying houses for a long time, and what you can get today, it's just like, wow, for the amount of money that you could get another house, 10 years ago. And it is quite disappointing for the people that have bought houses like myself. I bought detached houses for 300,000, and it's like, how can I be buying something for 600,000-700,000 that is
right.
so small?
Because
right?
Think about it in 10 years from now. Again, nobody has a crystal ball, but when you look at historic numbers.
Historically, yes, historically. And I do believe that that is the best way for you to maintain the value of your money. And
right.
I'm talking about the purchasing power. So
right.
it's not like your house is going to, oh my God, increase in price, but it's going to maintain the value of the money.
And we all need a place to live. Like,
absolutely.
This is the thing. So even with me, even though, this is the other thing too, that this could be a number 6 on the list, but let's not, because I know I like to add numbers.
Yeah, I know you do.
Bonuses, right? Bonus number 6. But what I was going to say was the one factor too, that what I love about my home is that it gives me the option of renting out parts of it. So this is the thing that Araceli always talk about, is becoming, we're both home, not just home investors, but real estate investors. So we have rentals. We have people living in our rentals. We also like to buy and flip. So this is something that we are really well versed in. So this is something else that when I say with buyers to have expectations, but also to be flexible with that, because if you do have a basement, if shit does hit the fan, that you can use your house for Airbnb or long-term rental, or you can rent out a garage if you have it, like all these things that bring in extra income. It's a possibility, and the freedom that it gives you, to me, means the world. So when I think of home ownership, it goes beyond just having a place to live.
Yeah. So the more options you have, of course, people that were able to buy something that is a little bit bigger than what they need, they have a little bit more options. And you can always modify your existing place and maybe add a room, things like that. It's a little bit more costly, but it could happen. The more rooms or the more space you have, the more options you have. Now, of course, the farther and farther you go into the buying process, you're going to get less and less space for more and more money. Unfortunately, that's exactly what the trend is going towards. But that doesn't mean that you do not have options. The best option is to get started with real estate, to get in, to have a little bit, start building your equity if you can. But remember, also be mindful of your current finances, because at the same time, you don't want to be house poor, like Colette said. It's
Yeah.
just not fun. So
Well, you know what?
there's got to be a balance.
I want to share one thing too, which is really interesting, that I see this as a trend.
Yeah.
Because prices are so crazy these days, right? So I am seeing more and more friends or family members, like sisters, buy together. So this is really exciting for me, because let's say two people have 500,000, they qualify for $500,000 each, and they can buy $1 million house together. Like, this is what the GTA is giving. A house, you know, let's say a detached house that has more than 2 bedrooms and more than 2 bathrooms and maybe even 2 floors, that the house can be renovated to have 2 separate units in the house for the time being of what that, you know, those 2 people want to live together, and they can cohabitate, because COVID is making people actually come together. Believe it or not, it's one of these interesting things that's happening, where even though we feel very segregated and very apart from our family and friends, once people realize, like, oh my gosh, you know what, both our lives could be better for the interim. We don't know how long COVID's going to last.
That's right.
Spanish flu lasted 2 years. So let's say if we do have this vaccine,
we're going into finishing the first year of COVID.
Right.
It started March 2020. So March 2021 would be 1 year. We may be in for another year until they find something that works.
Right. So we do have a vaccine already. If this is like, you know, you're watching this 10 years down the road. But let's just say 10 years from now, let's just pretend, what do you do now to be ready for 2030?
Whoa.
2031. What can you do now to be ready in 10 years? And really 10 years is not that far away. So if you think of building your equity in a home right now, you got to start saving. You got to talk to Araceli, get your finances figured out, learn how to save more too, because this is something that when I look at my, oh my gosh, I look at my especially, okay, never mind, it just was Christmas. But when I look at my credit card statements, I go, oh my gosh, what did I buy? What was that? Did I really need to go to that store and buy all that, you know, junk for my kids, like the little tchotchkes, and, you know, did I really need to buy that thing from Amazon? Or even the Amazon Prime. I stopped my Amazon, sorry, I shouldn't say that, but I stopped paying my Amazon Prime, because I think, okay, if I stop that free delivery, which is really not free, it's still costing me whatever, $10 a month. But if I say, okay, I'm not going to buy anything, let's say in January, I'm not going to buy anything from Amazon. Can I do it? I don't know if I can do it, but this is the thing. When you have a goal like buying a house, there are little sacrifices that you can make every day.
It all comes down to priorities.
Exactly.
And, you know, we all have different habits, and it's interesting, and it's important for you to understand who you are. Like, if you're a spender, you really need to put a plan in place in order for you to accomplish what you want. If, of course, a house is something that you really want to have, right? So sometimes it says, you know what, maybe renting, it's something that I want to continue to do because it's a lot cheaper. I don't have to worry about a lot of things. But at the same time, I highly recommend, if you can, to move to a house instead of renting would be the best bet in the long run for you. So you gotta decide who you are and exactly what you want, because then priorities need to change.
Yeah, I think that's really good advice. You need to know your why. I think just saying I want to be a homeowner is not a good enough why. If you really ask yourself what kind of lifestyle you want, where you want to live, how much better your life can be if you buy a house, these are the things that, you know, that makes sense to me. That makes sense to me. And location, again, that should be number one on your list. If location is very important to you, I had this conversation with a friend last night. Location is huge. We have this argument that I'm in the suburbs. She goes, oh, I could never live in the suburbs. She's a city girl. She wants everything in walking distance. She wants to have her little neighborhood feel of the shops and the restaurants and the other places that are hyper local for her. And that works for her. For me, I hate the city. I would never want to be in the city because it's so loud and there's there's so many people in this little small area. I like my space. I like being close to things. I might have to drive to certain places, but really it's this kind of interesting mix. I'm very close to highways. I don't have to struggle to get out of the city. So see how like everybody has their things that they like and they dislike about where they live. So location is number one.
Okay, so let's recap. So number one, figure out your finances to see what you can afford. If you need to work on it, figure out your current budget versus the new budget to add lots of things like property taxes and things like that.
Comfortably affordable. What you are comfortable paying monthly. Number two.
Okay. Number two. What's number two?
Calculate your down payment and closing costs.
Okay, so remember, this can come from different sources. Maybe you have parents that might be able to help you, or relatives. Maybe you got an inheritance. There's lots and lots of sources, but you got to figure out obviously that down payment's got to be there in order for you to get into the market. Okay.
Yep. And so if you need to save more, talk to Araceli. She'll help you figure out where your expenses are and how much you're not saving, so you can get to your goal.
Yeah. Number three
is to be realistic.
Yeah.
Check out realtor.ca. See what's in your price range, in your location. That's great. Actually, number four is to hire a great realtor, because realtors can help you with how the market is, reno costs, taxes, and other financial things that you really need to calculate. Are you pointing at me?
Yeah.
Yes, yeah, absolutely. And number five is, we talked about location being number one, but location really, on my list anyway, it was
that might be some more flexibility from people now that during COVID, because if you don't have to be close to work and you're able to work remote, you may have a little bit more choices to go maybe a little farther down. That might save you some money, and you were able to buy maybe a little bit bigger house than you could if you were in the city.
Yeah, and the other thing too, like when I say location, it's also if you have kids, I think that's the main thing, or family that you have that you want to be close by, then that sort of, you can be a little bit flexible, but really when you think about your daily things, like going to school, when schools do reopen, where is the property, where is the house going to be in proximity to the school that you want. So that could really limit people, but also work. If people really need to go into their place of work and they want to be close, I mean, commute times are still, there's crazy traffic still. It's not like people are I don't even see the difference really as far as people staying home and not going out, which is really sad. But I understand a lot of people have, their workplaces have figured out how to keep them safe. Yeah. So, and if they do have to show up for work, then, who am I to judge of how they're running their business? So yeah, absolutely location is key. But also you kind of know, I think that's something that people already know what they want, where they want to buy.
And of course, if you need any help trying to figure out any of the steps, just let us know. I'll be happy to walk you through a current budget versus a budget for buying a property. Colette also will be able to help you figure out what house is the best for you, location, all of that kind of things. We're here to help. So if you have any questions at all about something that you want to know in real estate investing or finances, just please give us a shout, and we'll hear, and then we'll talk to you next week about it.
Yay! And if you have any questions, just email us, write a little note below, whatever you want. We're here.
Whichever you want. So, okay. So with that happy 2021, and we'll see you next week. Thank you, Colette.
Bye, everybody. Thanks for coming. Thanks for watching. Bye.